Hello, everyone. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining this session. I hope we're going to learn more and interact. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alpha. Michael?
Good morning, everyone. Michael Onyango here, part of the Agriculture Group and Planet Wizard Group. I hope we are going to learn more. And yeah, that's all from me.
Okay, thank you so much. Hezron, I doubt you're in a position to speak, but if you can, just say hi. He's not in a position to speak. Charlene? Not able to as well.
Hello.
Oh,
Hello,
okay.
everyone. I'm Shadeen. I'm a communication person, but I'm interested in health and how we can better our knowledge and our practice. And yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Charlene. So, Anemba Felix, you just joined us. You're doing the introduction so that we get started on the session. Anemba Felix. I think he might not be in a position to speak up. So what I'll do, I'll get started with.
Yes, hello.
Yes. Yes, Felix.
David, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can introduce yourself?
Oh yeah, I'm Felix Anemba. I'm a student from the JK Art, where I pursue pharmacy, and I'm very happy to join you on discussing matters of vaccine development. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So as we move into the session now, Alpha will be our co-host. In case you have any questions, any areas of clarification that you need help with, please share on the chat box or share with her. Then we'll coordinate as we move forward. So as has been mentioned, today our focus of discussion would be on vaccine development. I'm Odhiambo David, I'm a pharmacist by profession, and I'm part of the Agriculture, Health and Social Innovation team. So when we talk about vaccines, actually it's one of the hottest topics that we're having in the current healthcare space, with everybody talking about vaccines around COVID-19 vaccine and all that pertains to it. And just to jog your minds and bring you up to speed, in the last year, there were challenges that we had when people were talking about testing of vaccines in the Kenyan market, especially African market generally. And it was one of the French scientists who mentioned an aspect of using Africans as guinea pigs, and that brought so much controversy and so much discussions. But unfortunately, we have to do the tests. Or fortunately, as it is, depending on how we perceive it, we have to do vaccine clinical trials and tests related to ensure that we have the ultimate quality outcome in terms of the product that we're having in the market. So how do we go about the whole aspect, and how do we ensure that the products that are available in the market are meeting the standards that we propose they should be meeting? So that is one of the most important bits when it comes to vaccine development. And that is one of the things that we need to look at now. How does the process work? And another critical bit that we have to factor in at this particular moment is that most people are shying away from taking up vaccines. And even now with plans for the government of Kenya to roll out the vaccine in the coming week or month, there are moves that people are kind of hesitant in taking the vaccines, and that hesitancy is going to affect the access to the protection that we need to ensure we get out of this pandemic at this particular moment. So it's important for us to get to understand how does the vaccine development process take place, and what are the key quality measures, key control measures that will guarantee you to know that these vaccines are safe. That's the first thing. They're effective in terms of protecting you from getting the disease, and even if you get the disease, not developing the severe forms of the infection. And beyond talking about that aspect of it, we look at what other measures might arise. For example, there are some people who have reported having adverse events, and all the vaccines, there have been aspects of even having adverse events, side effects. and doesn't apply only to vaccines. Even when you take any food, when you overeat and all that, there's bloating. That is a side effect of that product. So it's not only isolated to vaccines and all other medical products, but the question would be, how do we make the best use of these products that we have? And how do we ensure we derive maximum value? And what happens to ensure that the maximum value we want to derive from these products is going to be met? So those are the most critical bits of how we look at the vaccines. So to start us off, I'll look in terms of what are vaccines. So we have to acknowledge that vaccines are substances. They used to stimulate the production of antibodies. And we all know we have an immune system in our bodies that is responsible for ensuring we have protection against different diseases. So for that protection to be there, we have an immune system. That immune system is dependent on a number of cells. If I could just mention a bit of them, we have the T lymphocytes, the beta B lymphocytes. Then we have another set of the myeloid lineage. That is another set of now the white blood cells that are responsible for that protection. So in this line, normally antibodies are produced from the B cells. And these antibodies, either they detect a pathogen that gets into your body. If you have the COVID virus in your body, then the antibodies are able to detect it, tag on it, and it's kind of a tag, then it makes other cells that are responsible for killing that virus take action and kill that virus. And that is where we have the T lymphocytes, T killer, T helper cells, and related that are responsible for your immune response. So it's a whole process of looking at how do vaccines now work. So if they stimulate the antibodies, antibodies will tag on any particle that gets into your body, killing it before it causes an infection, causes a disease in you. Then if that happens, you are now protected, and that is why vaccines are effective in management of diseases. So it either prevents you from getting the disease, prevent you from developing the severe forms of the disease, and that happens by development of antibodies and providing immunity against all these diseases. So what vaccines are, the substances are called antigens. And for you to have an immune response that is active and able to defend yourself, you need antigens that can elicit the production of antibodies and provide immunity, provide protection that you need. So antigen is being able to produce an immune response. And that is the feature that is very critical about vaccines. So that is the background on what vaccines are. And why is it that we do need vaccines? We have to acknowledge that some diseases do not have a cure or treatments. So for example, COVID-19 at this particular moment, there's no cure for COVID-19. And what we are hoping on is if we can get a vaccine that can prevent us or protect us from getting the infection, we would be safe. So how do we get that vaccine? That is one of the things in terms of diseases where there are no cures. The cost is high of treatment of a disease is high compared to the preventive options. For example, when you look at it from when you're sick, you're in the hospital, you're not able to be productively engaged in your own economic activities, when at the same time you're going to incur costs in terms of the treatment, that is the medication that you need. There's hospital bills that are associated with that. That is the caregiving aspect of it. Your family will also be taking time out to visit you to take care of your other needs that might be there. The overall cost of that care is far much higher compared to giving you a vaccine that would keep you effective and contributing to your own economic development, supporting your people where they are, and being you are free and you're not in a hospital setup. Even your family members and your friends are able to do the things that they normally do without having to worry about your well-being or not. So that is one good thing that we see with vaccines. Then another thing that is very important, we are talking about herd immunity. For us to achieve herd immunity generally, we're talking of at least 60% of the general population to have been vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccine, that is COVID-19 virus vaccine. So for that herd immunity to happen, it means we can vaccinate so many people. And if we can vaccinate so many people, we can give that protection to as many people as we want to. In case of diseases, I can't treat you with any medication when you're not sick for that disease. I don't see if any other person could ever take any antimalarial if they're not sick or even for prophylactic management. So that is the benefit of dealing with vaccines at this particular point. We can give it to so many people, and it doesn't need to be people who are sick. We can start it at any point in time, which is a good advantage of dealing with vaccines. The only other option where we have drugs being used for individuals who are not sick and they are not vaccines have been for neglected tropical diseases. And that is where we talk about ivermectin being given for filariasis. Tanzania has a component of it, mass treatment. And those are some of the things that we have. But the most common mass treatment has been with vaccines and vaccination. So we need vaccines because of these three critical bits. And there are other options that makes it more critical for us to use vaccines. Then now when we get to the vaccine development process. Generally, and as standard has been over the last years, from 1902 when the first vaccine was trying to be developed, the focus has been 10 to 12 years for development, and it takes place in different phases. However, now with COVID-19, the process have been expedited as much as possible because this is a matter of public health priority. It's of significance, and the option is finding ways to ensure we can protect each and every one of us. And if we can protect each and every one of us, then that would be a probable outcome for us to get back to our economic activities, take care of our needs, and move out from a pandemic that is causing so much devastation. So that is why there's an expedited process. And it's also because of the advances in technology, advances in science, and the increased competency of the people working behind these kind of researches. Because once there's access to information and data, then that data is going to be used in informing practices, and those informed practices are going to give us better results and better outcomes. So that is a very important bit. And generally, vaccine development is done by the public sector. That is where we have government institutions, research organizations, universities. For example, you know about AstraZeneca partnering with Oxford University to develop the ChAdOx vaccine. So that vaccine that has been developed, it's a partnership. AstraZeneca is a private organization, private company. Oxford University is a public government institution, university that is. So the private company coming together with the public institution, leveraging on their different strengths and capabilities to ensure we develop a product that would serve the needs of the people within the different communities where we operate. And there are different other aspects where we look at public engagement, where we look, for example, the regulation of the products. Because any product that comes into the market, any product that is to be used by each and every one of us has to go through the different regulatory requirements, approvals, to ensure it's safe for use, it's effective as claimed, and in case of anything, there's someone going to take responsibility for the effects or the side effects that might be noted in the use of that drug. So those are measures where we look at the public playing an active role. For the private sector, the business component is ensuring it is available for the people who need it, to when and where they need it. That is where we look at supply chain, we look at the production, we look at bringing it to the market when it's needed. So in the different phases, we have first phase, second phase, third phase, and fourth phase. And the first phase is normally the preparatory, exploratory, and preclinical phase. Second phase, we look at clinical trials, phase 1 to phase 3. Subsequently, we move to phase 4 at another level now. Then for third phase, we have regulatory approval, licensure and marketing of the product. Then the fourth phase, post-licensure monitoring of vaccines. So when we look at that, I have a chart on this screen. I hope you guys can see my screen. Just confirm that you can see it.
I can.
Okay, thank you. So in the vaccine life cycle, we're looking at safety of the vaccine at every phase, and normally starts from the basic research. In basic research, we are identifying the lead molecule. For example, when we talk about vaccines, it's either we are taking a protein molecule, the DNA component, or having the active virus or the bacteria and denaturing it, killing it or making it less effective as a pathogen, but rather making it be able to induce an immune response in your body to elicit the production of antibodies. So that is the basic research. We look at what makes it a priority, how can it be done better. Then now after that, we do adjustments on the particular molecule, whether it's the virus, it's the bacteria, it's a protein bit of it, or it's the DNA part of it. Then it's now formulated to be an ideal molecule that can now be used. After that, it goes into the preclinical studies. And this is where we're talking about this third yellow band here. And in the third yellow band in the preclinical studies, we look at how that drug, one, it's being tested in different samples and seeing whether it can elicit the production of antibodies. It can be done using lab animals where we have mice, rats, and related. And even monkeys can be used. Actually, those are our closest cousins if we look at it in terms of the evolutionary process. So those studies are normally done before we get to the human being. And it's from identifying the molecule, improving on its quality to ensure it's as safe as it can be, testing it on pre-animal, pre-human subjects, where we have mice, rats, monkeys, and related. So we are looking at the safety of that product. Once we've confirmed it's safe, we move to now the IND. If you see the white band in between, we have the investigational new drug submission. For example, if it's a particular company, let's say Recalture is developing a vaccine, then Recalture as a developer of the vaccine will make an application to the regulatory authorities. For the Kenyan context, Pharmacy and Poisons Board, and let them know we have identified this molecule X, and this molecule X is considered to be active as a vaccine for COVID-19. And therefore, we are asking you, after doing these laboratory tests, to give us approval to move to the next phase where we are now going to test it on human subjects, as in human beings. So if that application, the IND, investigational new drug application, it's a new molecule that we're bringing into the market. So if it is approved, the data is sufficient enough, and they're convinced that it has potential, then now we move to the phase 2. And in the phase 2, the second phase, when I was looking about the vaccine development pipeline, that is now where we get to the clinical studies. And in clinical studies, we have phase 1, which is done between 20 to 100 people maximum. And in that case, the focus is on getting the safety of that vaccine. How safe is it in humans? Does it elicit any adverse events? Then what is the dose that we can use? Because the doses of different drugs and different molecules are also different. So that is phase 1. After we've confirmed it's safe, it can be used widely with others, we'll move to phase 2. And another very important thing that we have to know about phase 1 studies is where we are looking at the safety of the product. And when you're looking at the safety, we use healthy individuals. And generally, we're looking at healthy adults between the ages of 18 up to 45 or 50 at most, because these are people who are at the prime of their age, the immune responses are active, and in case of any side effects, they can be supported and they can heal from it as easy as possible. And that happens that you find even a vaccine can be developed for children. You have tetanus, the polio vaccines being given up to 6 months of children. These are young, very young babies. Why don't we start by testing in them? Because we need to test it in elder people who can cope with the side effects. And then we now grade down to the point where we can get to the specific age group that is needed. So that is the tapering down and making the fluctuations, adjusting the scale to ensure we get to the target market, but having tested in a safer generation where we don't cause harm to so many other people who would be at much more risk when we tested in them. Then we move to phase 2 studies. Safety has been confirmed. In phase 2, we look at efficacy, and that takes 100 to 1,000 people who are within the phase 2 studies of the clinical trial for vaccine development. So in that case, the patients it's random, the single blinded majorly, not blinded, not double blinded, because the clinician or the doctor who is administering the vaccine knows that this is a vaccine molecule that is being administered to a patient. But however, the patient also might know, might not know the single blinded bit where the patient doesn't know. In some cases, it's open that the patient also knows that they're being given a vaccine. So to confirm the efficacy. And the reason as to why that is done is to ensure there are some of us, when you're feeling sick, once you've been told you've taken medication, you feel good. But it might not be that the drug is working, it's psychological. So the psychological bit is managed by looking at the blinding and the not blinding, being told whether you're being given a drug or not being given a drug. Then after those efficacy trial studies have been confirmed, we now move to phase 3. And phase 3 is to confirm the efficacy, safety, and get more data from larger groups of people, between thousands to tens of thousands of people. So that is the third phase of the clinical trials. So at that case, if the drug or the vaccine passes that phase, it's confirmed that now this drug is effective and it can give us the outcome that we expect. For example, if it's supposed to prevent us from getting infections, preventing us from getting severe forms of COVID-19, it is confirmed from those clinical trials. So now once it's established, the reports are documented by the company. If I was talking about drug X from Recalture, then we develop that product and now present that final documentation and application to the drug regulator again. In this case, if you're talking about the Kenyan context, will be the Pharmacy and Poisons Board. And it being it's a vaccine, it's a biological molecule, we talk about the BLA. The biological licensure application. Biological licensure application, because we want licensing to be given approval to deal in that product and market it now officially, produce it in large scale for use in the public. So once that review, if either the committee can be convinced or not. If convinced, we'll get the licensing to start producing that product. And when we get the licensing to start producing it at scale to market it, we move to that phase. The next phase now where we'll now be developing and launching that product in the market. If it doesn't get through, there are options that might arise. The Pharmacy and Poisons Board or the different regulators will let you know that your drug didn't pass this particular phase because the data in this area did not meet the criteria. We want it to be effective, let's say in 80 or 90% of the people who it was used in, but yours got 60%. That is substandard. We would encourage either you continue the test or we nullify it depending on the need at that particular point and how we are going to go about it. So that data is very, very important. And once you have that back and forth engagement with the regulator to confirm that the vaccine is effective, it's good for production, and that is also where they now, if it's already meeting the standards of what is required, you know, there's this aspect of humans where I can give you the right quality for testing. Then when I now start marketing it because I want to make much profits, I produce substandard products or even just bottle water and distribute in the market. So because of that, you find the regulatory authority will be visiting the production site. That is where we talk about GMP inspection, good manufacturing practices, to ensure that the facilities are conforming with those standards. The products that are being developed are meeting the standards as speculated and as distributed in the documentation, and they are able to continuously produce products that are meeting those standards. That is where we talk about now the validation and quality assurance that is put in place. Once that is done, you get the licensing, you start producing in bulk, and with the production in bulk, you take the product to your market. But the work doesn't stop there. Because once you now have a product, that a vaccine that is being given to people, some people might get side effects from it, some people might not develop the side effects from them. So how do we help them? That is where now there are different set of data that is being collected, where now clinical phase 4 studies in clinical trials will come in, where you are seeing post-marketing survey. When you find an adverse event being reported, let's say I have a reaction to a particular vaccine, how do I go about it? The pharmaceutical company has the responsibility to collect that data and act on it by either finding the cause or addressing it by the regulator to show that probably it's not related with the vaccine. So that is one. Two, other than reporting to the pharmaceutical company, as an individual, as a patient, as a relative to someone who might have developed the side effects, you can report to the regulator, like let's say, if this case we're talking about Pharmacy and Poisons Board, you can report to them and let them know, I was given this vaccine on such a date, these are the side effects that I felt. And how do you do it? The Pharmacy and Poisons Board and most other national regulatory authorities have a portal, like for example, in Kenya, we have the Pharmacovigilance Reporting System, Electronic Reporting System, PVERS. So you key in the information, you give your details, and stop at that. The Pharmacy and Poisons Board will review that data, contact the manufacturer of the vaccine, and follow up to ensure that there's no much of adverse events. And after the marketing as well, there's what we call the vaccine data link, safety data link, where you have different organizations. For example, if it's in Kenya, and vaccines were being given by Kenyatta National Hospital, Aga Khan Hospital, Mater Hospital, and all the other hospitals that you might know, where the clinical trials have also been conducted. So they can say there have been a set of complaints and concerns that were being raised. And now we want to do an evaluation of these safety concerns. So they decide and they do an application to ensure that they get the trials conducted. And those trials that are being conducted over a period of time will either confirm whether the side effects are associated with the vaccine or the drug or not. And if not, it moves on to the next phase of continuing marketing of that product. And those are measures that are put in place. The focus is to ensure your vaccine is effective, it's safe for human use, and any side effects are being addressed as much as possible, containing the aspect of looking for profits for the private sector and the regulator meeting their demand to ensure they take care of the public welfare. And those are very, very important bits in terms of the vaccine development pipeline. So if you can see this other slide, this was a brief on the different aspects as I mentioned. The first phase, priority setting. What is the priority? At this point, we're talking about COVID-19. And one of the other things that comes with priority setting here is some drugs might be a priority for an individual because people are suffering from them, but it doesn't have the business incentive. If I'm a businessman, I want to make money. If it doesn't give me the incentive to make money, there's a challenge there. But if it has a priority like this, an issue of public health interest like COVID-19, then that is a priority. And most of the industrial processes are focused on that. Exploratory, the drug development research work, then preclinical studies done in the labs, IND, investigational new drug application, asking for approval to move to clinical trials. Second phase, phase 1 to 3, as I mentioned. Then third phase, we have the biologic license application, BLA, site inspection to confirm the production meets the standards. Then we evaluate the data that has been provided. Then once those are finalized and approved, we move to production and marketing. And after production and marketing, the control is to ensure post-licensure monitoring of vaccines. Phase 4 trials done by the company. Vaccine adverse events reporting, that is where I was talking about pharmacovigilance, e-reporting system in the Kenyan system. Then vaccine safety data link, different organizations coming together to assess any safety concerns that have been reported and ensure they are meeting the quality standards as provided for. And in case there are any concerns, these are being rectified by being communicated to the vaccine developer, the company, or even to regulatory authority to ensure there are stricter controls that are put in place. So that is the overall overview of vaccine development. And one of the critical bits that we need to acknowledge at this point is the fact that vaccine development is a robust system, and the focus is on quality, efficacy, and safety of patients. And once those are met, then at the end of the day, we are going to trust the vaccines that are being developed. And as of now, from the data that has been evaluated with different expert review panels and committees, I believe the COVID vaccine and all the other vaccines that are available in the market, one, they meet the standards. And other than meeting those standards as prescribed, in case of any concerns, there's a control measure that is being put in place. I remember earlier this week, around Tuesday, the WHO gave a notice that in case of anybody having any side effects, they will compensate, meaning they have a degree of assurance and trust in the development processes and the quality control measures that have been put in place. This ensures that the public interest is well taken care of, and in case of any concerns, there will be control measures in place to safeguard that interest and to protect the public health interests. So if you have someone within your environment, you as a person, the people you interact with, who might be having concerns around vaccines, the development process, at least you have an idea of how the development works. And with that idea of how the development works, you can trust the quality measures that are put in place, you can trust vaccines, and you would be willing to take them up. If you take them, you'll be protecting yourself, you're protecting the people you love, and ensuring we get out of this system, this problem where we're having challenges with COVID-19, and we get back to work as we want to. So that would be the most ideal outcome from this pandemic as it is. So that marks the end of the session, the presentation from my end. I'll take it to you, Alpha, in case there are any questions, you can bring them up, then we can wind up the session. Thank you.
So far, we don't have any questions.
Okay. Any questions, any concerns from the audience that might need our input and contribution?
Hello, Dr. David.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
We saw this in a newspaper, I guess last week, Sunday, I can't remember, but we see that PPB accepted, approved of a certain vaccine. I think that's AstraZeneca vaccine, but yet we see that South Africa rejected the same vaccine. Yeah. What could be the issue? And I also read that once like PPB approves of the vaccine,
Yes.
then if you suffer any side effect, then you'll pay. You'll foot your own bills, or you'll foot your own medical costs. Okay. Could you mind like elaborating further?
Okay, thank you. So
Okay.
on the AstraZeneca vaccine, the first thing that we have to acknowledge, at the start of this year, there have been concern around having different variants of the virus, right? The first one was reported in the UK, a couple of others have been reported in the US, and there's a variant that is prevalent in South Africa. So following clinical trials that were conducted in South Africa, the tests were not as promising as much with regards to the new variant. And that is why the concerns were being raised in terms of, would they continue approving it, yet they have a suspicion that it might not be effective against the variant that is spreading in the country? No. So that is why the South African government retracted on that move, and actually they've gone ahead to start vaccinating their people with the Johnson & Johnson's vaccine, which is in development. Actually, it's almost towards the end of the final development phases. So that is the approach. On this other case, in the Kenyan context, the Pharmacy and Poisons Board have given their go-ahead with AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine. One, it has been tried in the Kenyan market. It has been tested, and the test started last year around June, July. That was from Cambridge. And over time, they've accumulated a set of evidence that's showing it's effective. And even from the WHO qualification processes and authorization, AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine has been given the emergency use authorization from WHO, confirming it is effective. The only thing we are hoping is the South African variant that it has less effect against is not prevalent in the Kenyan market, if at all it's there. So that is where the issue is. And in terms of the costing, COVID-19 treatment has not been part of any insurance plan in the country, including NHIF. So that is where patients have been catering for their own costs. So even beyond that, it won't be much of an issue. In terms of PPB, upon approval of a particular vaccine, when it gets to looking at, in case of a side effect, who takes responsibility? It is the responsibility of the drug manufacturer, and it needs to be reported and confirmed as the vaccine would be the cause of that kind of side effect. And how do we respond to it? In case you're being vaccinated for something, there's what we call it, just forgotten. There's a compliance form that is normally signed by an organization showing that in case of any side effects in the product being used in the market upon registration, the marketing authorization holder takes liability, takes responsibility to ensure they investigate. That's one. Upon investigation and confirmation, they cater for the damages. That is in terms of any litigation, any payment that need to be made, they take responsibility. It's their product. What happens with Pharmacy and Poisons Board giving their approval is to show that this product can now be in the market. It has met the initial criteria that we had put in place, but in case of anything, we can still follow up on the processes. So it doesn't mean that in case of a side effect, the public will have to go their own way and find a way to sort themselves. And that's what happens even to other drugs. For example, you have the case of this drug, thalidomide. It had been approved, but it was causing challenges, especially for pregnant women, causing fetal deformations. But when that was identified and that causality was put in place, then now the drug manufacturer took responsibility and compensated the individuals who were affected. I hope that answers you, Edwin.
Very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate. Yeah, that answers. Yeah.
Any other questions? And that was a very great question, because those are some of the things that are also making people be hesitant when it comes to vaccination. Any other question? If there's none, probably would give the other people who didn't join us earlier to to just introduce themselves as we wind up on the session. Offer, you have something?
None from my end. I would like to thank you for the good presentation. That was quite informative.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Edwin? You could just introduce yourself as we wind up on the session.
Good morning. My name is Edwin Derito. Yes, pharmacist by profession. Glad to be here. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Georgina Odhiambo.
Morning, everyone. Georgina Odhiambo, as mentioned. I'm an IT professional, but also interested in these health matters. And I saw Alpha share the post about this talk, so I decided to join, and it's been quite insightful. Thank you for the presentation, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Georgina. It's been a pleasure having you as well. Hezron, I don't know if you're in a position to talk now.
Hello, yes, I am.
Okay.
So good morning, everyone. And my name is Hezron Munyakin. I'm also part of the agriculture team and Planet Wizard. So it was a good presentation, and I hope that we've all learned something out of it. Yeah, thank you, and have a good weekend.
Thank you so much. So that's it. In case anyone has something, let's give the last minute. Question, concern, comment, then we wind up the session. Anyango Michael.
Yes, David.
I see you have something to share.
Not really, just to say thank you for the session. It was quite informative. Yeah, and I hope we all picked something out of it. So thank you all, and have a nice weekend.
Okay, thank you so much. So if that's it, we can say thank you for everyone who has made it here. For those who want to follow up on some of the presentations that we did, this one has been on vaccine development. We had another one on clinical trials that we did last year towards the end, around October. It's on our YouTube channel, Reculture YouTube channel. You can watch it from there, get updated on some of the health roundup sessions that we've had. And when you look at it in terms of the health roundup, it's a matter of talking about critical issues that are within the healthcare space and looking at what is the implication to each and every one of us. The first one we started was on health amendment bill, which is still going to come up again because there have been a number of amendments that are being proposed and they're in the parliament as of now. So those will come in the next subsequent sessions that we'll be having. And focus is, these are health issues. These are health matters that matter to you because if they're not addressed in the best way possible, access to healthcare will be compromised. Access to healthcare compromised, your well-being is compromised. You can't be productive, you can't be at your best. And for those who are in the business space, who are creatives, innovatives, people and all that, these are insights that you can use to develop solutions in terms of tackling some of the challenges we have. So it's an whole encompassing set of discussions where we bring out different issues on health and find ways to tackle them, addressing these issues and ensuring we have a robust healthcare system that is responsive to the healthcare needs of its people. And I hope we get to interact as much as possible and make as much contribution as we can. So as we end the session, take the moment to review the other YouTube channels that we have, contribute to it. In case you have any comments, you have to contribute something, you need to suggest a session in the coming one, share that topic that you want us to talk about and discuss, then we'll work on it. And beyond that, share this information with your friends and make it go viral so that we have as many people who are inclined to improving access to healthcare and ensuring we have healthy societies. Asanteni sana. And have a great weekend ahead.
Have a lovely one too.
A good one.
You too.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.